marvels told, and harps of gold they brought to him. They clothed him then in elven white, and 7 lights before him sent, as through the Calacarian to hidden land forlorn he went. He came unto the timeless halls, where shining fall the countless years, and endless reigns the elder king in Ilmarin on mountain sheer. And words unheard were spoken then of folk, of men and elven kin. Beyond the world were visions showed, forbid to those that dwelt therein. A ship then new they built for him, of mithril and of elven glass, with shining prow, no shaven oar nor sail she bore on silver mast. The Silmaril as lantern light, and banner bright with living flame, to gleam thereon by Elbereth herself was set, who thither came, and wings immortal made for him, and laid on him undying doom, to sail the shoreless skies, and come behind the sun and light of moon. From Evereven's lofty hills, where softly silver fountains fall, his wings embore a wandering light beyond the mighty mountain wall. From world's end then he turned away, and yearned again to find afar his home, through shadows journeying, and burning as an island star. On high above the mists he came, a distant flame before the sun, a wonder ere the waking dawn, where grey the Norland waters run. And over Middle-earth he passed, and heard at last the weeping sough of women and of elven maids, in elder days, in years of yore. But on him mighty doom was laid, till moon should fade, and all bade star to pass, and tarry nevermore on hither shores where mortals are. For ever still a herald on an errand that should never rest, to bear his shining lamp afar, the Flamifer of Westernesse. The chanting ceased. Frodo opened his eyes and saw that Bilbo was seated on his stool in a circle of listeners who were smiling and applauding. "Now we had better have it again," said an elf. Bilbo got up and bowed. "I'm flattered, Lindir," he said, "but it would be too tiring to repeat it all." "Not too tiring for you," the elves answered, laughing. "You know you're never tired of reciting your own verses. But really, we can't answer your question at one hearing." "What?" cried Bilbo. "You can't tell which parts were mine, and which were the Dunedain's?" "It's not easy for us to tell the difference between two mortals," said the elf. "Nonsense, Lindir," snorted Bilbo. "If you can't distinguish between a man and a hobbit, your judgment is poorer than I imagined. They're as different as peas and apples." "Maybe. To sheep, other sheep no doubt appear different," laughed Lindir, "or to shepherds. But mortals have not been our study. We have other business." "I won't argue with you," said Bilbo. "I'm sleepy after so much music and singing. I'll leave you to guess, if you want to." He got up and came towards Frodo. "Well, that's over," he said in a low voice. "It went off better than I expected. I don't often get asked for a second hearing. What did you think of it?" "I'm not going to try and guess," said Frodo, smiling. "You needn't," said Bilbo. "As a matter of fact, it was all mine, except that Aragorn insisted on my putting in a green stone. He seemed to think it was important. I don't know why. Otherwise, he obviously thought the whole thing rather above my head, and he said that if I had the cheek to make verses about the Arundel in the House of Elrond, it was my affair. I suppose he was right." "I don't know," said Frodo. "It seemed for me to fit somehow, though I can't explain. I was half asleep when you began, and it seemed to follow on from something that I was dreaming about. I didn't understand that it was really you speaking until near the end." "It's difficult to keep awake here until you get used to it," said Bilbo. "Not that hobbits would ever acquire quite the elvish appetite for music and poetry and tales. They seem to like them as much as food, or more. They will be going on for a long time yet. What do you say to slipping off for some more quiet talk?
Okay. Time to smoke a little bit.
Of course, this is merrymaking, not business. Come and go as you like, as long as you don't make a noise. They got up and withdrew quietly into the shadows and made for the doors. Sam they left behind, still with a smile on his face. In spite of his delight in Bilbo's company, Frodo felt a tug of regret as they passed out of the Hall of Fire. Even as they stepped over the threshold, a single clear voice rose in song. Frodo halted for a moment, Elrond was in his chair, and the fire was on his face like summer light upon the trees. Near him sat the Lady Arwen. To his surprise, Frodo saw that Aragorn stood beside her. His dark cloak was thrown back, and he seemed to be clad in elven mail, and a star shone on his breast. They spoke together, and then suddenly it seemed to Frodo that Arwen turned towards him, and the light of her eyes fell on him from afar and pierced his heart. He stood still, and while the sweet syllables of the elven fell like clear jewels of blended word and melody. "It's a song to Elben," said Bilbo. "They will sing that and other songs of the Blessed Realm many times tonight. Come on." He led Frodo back to his own little room. It opened onto the gardens and looked south across the ravine of the Bruinen. There they sat for some time, looking through the windows at the bright stars above the steep climbing woods and talking softly. They spoke no more of the small news of the Shire far away, nor of the dark shadows and perils that encompassed them, but of the fair things they had seen in the world together.
Hope everyone's having a good day out there.
The stars, of trees, and the gentle fall of the bright year in the woods. At last there came a knock on the door. "Begging your pardon," said Sam, putting in his head, "but I was just wondering."
Hey, Sam Squash, how you doing?
And them, Kemji.
Cheers to you too, bro.
"I guess you mean that it's time your master went to bed." "Well, sir, there is a council early tomorrow, I hear, and he only got up today for the first time." "Quite right, Sam," laughed Bilbo. "You can trot off and tell Gandalf that he's gone to bed. Good night, Frodo. Bless me, but it's been good to see you again. There are no folk like hobbits after all for a real good talk. I'm getting very old, and I begin to wonder if I should ever live to see your chapters of our story. Good night. I'll take a walk, I think, and look at the stars of Elbereth in the garden. Sleep well." Chapter 2. The Council of Elrond. Next day Frodo woke early, feeling refreshed and well. He walked along the terraces above the loud-flowing Bruinen and watched the pale, cool sun rise above the far mountains and shine down, slanting through the thin silver mist. The dew upon the yellow leaves was glimmering, and the woven nets of gossamer twinkled on every bush. Sam walked beside him, saying nothing, but sniffing the air, and looking every now and again with wonder in his eyes at the great heights in the east. The snow was white upon their peaks. On a seat cut in the stone beside a turn in the path, they came upon Gandalf and Bilbo deep in talk. "Hello, good morning," said Bilbo. "Feel ready for the great council?" "I feel ready for anything," answered Frodo. "But I should like to go walking today and explore the valley." I should like to get in those pine woods up there. He pointed away far up the side of Rivendell to the north. You may have a chance later, said Gandalf, but we can't make any plans yet. There's much to hear and decide today. Suddenly, as they were talking, a single clear bell rang out. That is the warning bell for the Council of Elrond, cried Gandalf. Come along now, both you and Bilbo are wanted. Frodo and Bilbo followed the wizard quickly along the winding path back to the house. Behind them, uninvited and for the moment forgotten, trotted Sam. Gandalf led them to the
How you
porch
been
where
doing,
Frodo had found
Sam
them
Squash?
the evening before. The light of the clear autumn morning was
If you're
now
still
glowing
here.
in the valley. The noise of bubbling waters came up from the foaming riverbed. Birds were singing, and a wholesome peace lay on the land. To Frodo, his dangerous flight, and the rumors of the darkness growing in the world outside already seemed only the memories of a troubled dream. But the faces that were turned to meet them as they entered were grave. Elrond was there, and several others were seated in silence about him. Frodo saw Glorfindel and Gloin, and in a corner alone Strider was sitting, clad in his travel-worn clothes again. Elrond drew Frodo to a seat by his side and presented him to the company, saying, Here, my friends, is
Hell
the
yeah.
hobbit, Frodo, son of Drogo. Few
That's
have
always
ever
good,
come hither
Sam
through
Squash.
greater peril
Hey,
or
Sports
on
Talk,
an
how you
errand
doing?
more urgent. He then pointed out and named those whom Frodo had not met before. There was a younger
I'm
dwarf
smoking
at
some
Gloin's side, his
snow
son
cap,
Gimli.
or snow
Besides
caps.
Glorfindel, there were several other councillors of Elrond's household, of whom Erestor was the chief. And with him was Galdor, an elf from the Grey Havens, who had come on an
Right,
errand
long
from
time no
Círdan
see,
the
Sports
shipwright.
Talk.
There was also a strange elf clad in green and
Nugs
brown, Legolas,
covered in
a messenger
almost
from his
like moon
father,
rocks, but a little
Thranduil,
bit better.
the king of the elves of northern Mirkwood.
Oh yeah,
And
'cause it
seated in
has
the
the
middle of the
wax
path
and it
was
has
a
the white
tall
teeth
man
all
with a
over
fair
it.
and a noble face, dark hair and
Not
grey
doing
eyes,
too bad,
proud
Sports
and
Talk.
stern of glance.
How you been?
He was cloaked and booted, as if for a journey on
But yeah, it's
horseback,
almost like
and
how
indeed,
moon
though his
rocks
garments
are,
were
but
rich, and his cloak was lined with
a little
fur,
bit better.
they were stained with long travel. He had a collar of silver in which a
Then of
single
course I
white
got
stone was set. His locks were shorn about his shoulders. On a baldric he wore a great horn tipped with silver that now was laid upon his knees. He gazed at Frodo and Bilbo with sudden wonder. Here, said Elrond,
some nice wax.
is Boromir, a man from the south. He arrived in the grey morning and seeks the council.
I may or may not keep it, I don't know yet.
Present, for here his questions will be answered. Not all that was spoken and debated in the council need now be told. Much was said of events in the world outside, especially in the south, and in the wide lands east of the mountains. Of these things Frodo had already heard many rumours, but the tale of Gloin was new to him, and when the dwarf spoke he listened attentively. It appeared that amid the splendour of their works of hand, the hearts of the dwarves of the lonely mountain were troubled. It is now many years ago, said Gloin, that the shadow of disquiet fell upon our people. Whence it came, we did not at first perceive. Words began to be whispered in secret. It was said that it was a narrow place, and that wealth and splendour would be found upon the world. Some spoke of Moria, the mighty works of our fathers that are called in our own tongue Khazad-dûm.
But it's definitely a little rough on your lung because it's
the powers and numbers to
we put it in bowl. It's pretty much essentially when you load a bowl and you top it with wax and keef. So yeah, you gotta take little hits.
Long have its vast mansions lain empty since the children of Durin fled. But now we spoke of it again with longing, and yet with dread. For no dwarf has dared to pass the doors of Khazad-dûm for many lives of kings, save Thror only, and he perished. At last, however, Balin listened to the whispers and resolved to go. And though Dane did not give him, he took with him all his children and many of our folk, and they went away south. That was nigh on 30 years ago. For a while we had news, and it seemed good. Messages reported that Moria had been entered.
I hope everyone's having a safe night out there.
There was silence, and no word has ever come.
I hope everyone has a
then about
good and safe 4th of July too.
But not from Moria, from Mordor. A horseman in the night who called Dain to his gate. The Lord Sauron the Great, so he said, wished for our friendship. Rings he would give for it, such as he gave of old, and he asked questions concerning hobbits, of what kind they were, and where they dwelt. For Sauron knows, he said, that one of these was known to you on a time. At this we were greatly troubled, and we gave no answer. And then his voice was lowered, and he would have sweetened it if he could. As a small token only of your friendship, Sauron.
Hell yes, Sasquatch. That's always good when you do a nice potent batch.
And get from him,
especially put you on couch lock status.
That once he stole, it is but a trifle that Sauron fancies, and an earnest of your goodwill. Find it, and 3 rings that the dwarf sires possessed of old shall be returned to you, and the realm of Moria shall be yours forever. Find only news of the thief, whether he still lives and where, and you shall have great reward and lasting friendship from the Lord. Refuse, and things will not seem so well. Do you refuse? At that his breath came like the hiss of snakes, and all who stood by shuddered. But Dain said, I say neither yea nor nay. I must consider this message and what it means under its fair cloak. Consider well, but not too long, said he. The time of my thought is my own to spend, answered Dain. For the present, said he, and rode into the darkness. Heavy have the hearts of our chieftains been since that night. We needed not the fell voice of the messenger to warn us that his words held both menace and deceit. For we knew already the power that has re-entered Mordor is not strange, and ever it betrays. Twice the message returned and has gone unanswered. The third and last time, so he says, is soon to come, before the ending of the year. And so I have been sent at last by Dain to warn Bilbo that he is sought by the enemy, and to learn, if may be, why he desires this ring, this least of rings. Also we crave the advice of Elrond. For the shadow grows.
I know that's when
we discovered that
me and
come also to
most hated grower like pulling them is when it's nice and amber.
We fear that he may yield.
Gotta get that nice couch locked in.
Borders. If we make no answer, the enemy may move men of his rule to assail King Brand, and Dain also.
Oh, damn it.
You have done well to come, said Elrond. You will hear today all that you need in order to understand the purposes of the enemy. There is naught that you can do other than to resist, with hope or without it. But you do not stand alone. You will learn that your trouble is but part of the trouble of all the Western world. The ring. What shall we do with the ring, the least of rings, the trifle that Sauron fancies? That is the doom that we must deem. That is the purpose for which you were called hither. Called, I say, though I have not called you to me, strangers from distant lands. You have come and are here met, in this very nick of time, by chance as it may seem. Yet it is not so. Believe rather that it is so ordered that we, who sit here, and none others, must now find counsel for the perils of the world. Now, therefore, things shall be openly spoken that have been hidden from all but a few until this day. And first, so that all may understand what is in the peril, the tale of the ring shall be told from the beginning even to this present. and I will begin that tale, and others shall end it. Then all listened while Elrond in his clear voice spoke of Sauron and the Ring of Power, and their forging in the second age of the world long ago. A part of his tale was known to some there, but the full tale to none, and many eyes were turned to Elrond in fear and wonder as he told of the elven smiths of Eregion, and their friendship with Moria, and their eagerness for knowledge, by which Sauron ensnared them. For in that time he was not yet evil to behold, and they received his aid and grew mighty in craft, whereas he learned all their secrets and betrayed them, and forged secretly in the mountain of fire the one ring to be their master. But Celebrimbor was aware of him, and hid the three which he had made, and there was war, and the land was laid waste, and the gate of Moria was shut. Then through all the years that followed he traced the ring. But since that history is elsewhere recounted, even as Elrond himself set it down in his books of
Anyone
lore,
got plans for
it is
tomorrow?
not here recalled. For it is a long tale, full of deeds
It
great
is the
and
middle of the
terrible,
week, and it is the
and
4th of
briefly
July,
though
so
Elrond spoke, the sun rode up the sky, and the morning was passing ere he ceased. Of Númenor he spoke, its glory and its fall, and the return of the kings to Middle-earth out of the deeps of the sea, borne upon the wings of storm. Then Elendil the Tall and his mighty sons, Isildur and Anarion, became great lords, and the north realm they made in Arnor, and the south realm in Gondor above the mouths of Anduin. But Sauron of Mordor assailed them, and they made the last alliance of elves and men, and the hosts of Gil-galad and Elendil were mustered in Arnor. Thereupon Elrond
happy
paused
4th
a while
to
and sighed.
Canadian Day
well
Monday,
the
huh?
splendor of their banners,
Nice.
he said. It recalled to me the glory of the elder days of the
And that
hosts
means,
of Beleriand. So many
at
great
least where
princes
I'm
and
at,
captains were assembled, and yet not so many,
that
nor so
means that
fair, as
tonight
when
there's gonna be
Danglerodrin was broken,
all kinds of
and the
fireworks
elven
going
age of
off,
evil was ended
all
forever,
kinds of
and it was not so.
gunshots.
You remember, said Frodo,
Beat us by
speaking
4
his thought
days,
aloud in his astonishment.
right?
But I thought, he
Yeah,
stammered
but
as Elrond
this is a day that
I thought
people
that the
like
fate of Gil-galad was a long
popping
ago
out
past.
shots with their guns, along with all
It
the
was
fireworks
indeed,
going on.
answered Elrond gravely. But my memory reaches back
There's
even
one
to the
year,
elder days. Earendil was my sire.
me and
was
most
born in
hated
Gondolin
grower
before its fall,
actually
and my mother was
heard someone.
Elwyn, daughter of
Well,
Dior,
we always hear
son of
gunshots go
Luthien of
off with the
Doriath.
fireworks. It's the
I have
fourth.
seen
It's
three
the
ages in the west of
4th
the
of
world,
July. It's,
many defeats,
I guess,
and
tradition
many fruitless victories.
somehow. But yeah, one year we heard someone popping off shots, but they're using a automatic weapon, because you could hear the sound of it. Someone let off a full auto, so
none could withstand.
that was crazy.
I beheld the last combat on the slopes of Orodruin, where Gil-galad died, and Elendil fell, and Narsil.
We had to
but Sauron
make sure
himself
that
was overthrown, and
some of the dogs
the ring from his hand with
stay
a
or
of his
get
father's sword, and took it for his own. At this the stranger, Boromir, broke in.
get
what became of the ring?
CBD treats for animals,
If ever such
because
a tale was told in
the
south,
loud
it has
noises
long
they
been
don't like,
forgotten.
and it freaks them out really
I've
bad.
heard of the great ring of him that we do
Oh yeah,
not
it's
name,
definitely scary
but we
sometimes.
believe
That's
that
why
it perished from the world in the ruin of his first
we usually
realm.
stay in.
Isildur took it. That is tidings indeed.
That and
Alas, yes, said Elrond. Isildur took it.
what is it, I think it was like 15, 14 years ago,
into Orodruin's
I blew my thumb off
when it was made.
on this
But you
hand,
marked what
as you
Isildur
can
did.
see.
He alone stood by his father in that last mortal contest, and by Gil-galad only Círdan stood and I. But Isildur would not listen to our counsel. This I will have as Wergild for my father and my brother.
But I blew it off. He was only held on by
Therefore,
that
whether
much.
we would or no, he took it to treasure it,
it was a firework I was holding, and it was a misfire. It blew up in the tube, blew this one off, and broke all the tendons in this hand.
Small wonder it is that you have not heard them, Boromir.
That night, I ended up dying twice that night. The first time was when the ambulance got there, because I didn't pass out for the pain. I wish I would have, just because that shit hurt. But yeah, I was awake for all of it. I felt every bit of it. But when the ambulance got there and I was in the ambulance, I guess they had to revive me in the ambulance because I went out for blood loss and shock, and they had to revive me. And oh yeah, that hurt like a motherfucker. And then when I got to the hospital killed me because my brother and everyone else that was there told the doctors, the nurses, paramedics, all that I've been drinking whiskey most of the night heavily. We're drinking on the 3rd, and once midnight hit, we celebrated the 4th. But yeah, I was drinking with friends that night, and when that happened, and the ER nurses, like I said, nurses, doctor, all knew that. They told my brother, most hated girl, that your brother's stable, you can go see him. I guess when he went back to the room where I was in, I was flatlined. They over sedated me. They sedated me like a sober person, and I wasn't by a long shot. So they ran my brother out of the room and brought all kinds of people in there to revive me again. Yeah, that was twice in one night. Yeah, I didn't know none of this happened. Cause yeah, I remember I come to, and after I come to, I'm in pain because I guess the stuff they bring you out to bring you out of it is the same stuff they give to people who OD. It's I guess it's a blocker for the opiates. So when they did that, it blocked all that. So it pretty much blocked the pain pills or the pain meds they gave me. So I come to, and I'm just in a lot of pain because, like I said, this one, as you can see,
there in the courts of the king grew a white tree. From the seed of that tree which Isildur brought.
He said it was only held on by that much.
And the seed of that
and
tree
all the ones in this hand, I broke all the tendons in this hand. So I come to in all kinds of pain because of all that. I'm like, fuck. I was like, man, like, can you give me something for the pain? Like, I'm hurting. Like, can you guys help me out? Like, sir, like, we can't give you nothing. Like, we just had to revive you. And they explained what happened. And me, I'm the type of person that like doesn't believe like what they tell me most of the time. I look at my brother because he was there they had him back in the room, and he kind of like looks at me and shakes his head. Yeah. Then they got me all like bandaged up, prepped me, and they life flighted me out from here where I live, since it is a small town, all the way to Lubbock, Texas, for I guess there's surgeons there. I get there, I have a surgery on my hand. I had 2 surgeries on the hand. And when I had my first surgery, like as soon as I got there, it was to pretty much remove all the damage and burnt tissue.
Now in this latter
And
day,
then
they are in peril once more.
yes,
But to our sorrow,
oh,
the
yeah.
one has been found. Others shall speak
Compared
of its
to
finding, for in that I played small part.
yeah, because it was the first one was to remove burnt and damaged tissue.
Tall and proud,
Then I had to wait there another week
Give me leave, Master Elrond,
to let
said he.
the swelling go down.
First to say more of Gondor. For
Oh, yeah.
verily from the land of Gondor I am come.
Must be
And
windy
it
out
would
there.
be well for
Or
all
fireworks.
to know what
I can
path
hear the
is there.
thumping.
For
But
few,
yeah.
I deem,
And
know
then
of our
the second
deeds,
surgery was pretty
and
much
therefore guess little
after
of the
the
peril if we should fail at
it
last.
got like the swelling and all that went out. They
Believe
reattached it.
But in the land of Gondor the blood of Numenor is spent, nor all its pride and
Yeah, for the
dignity
most
forgotten.
part.
By our valor the wild folk of the east are still restrained, and the terror of Morgul kept at bay. And thus alone are peace and freedom maintained in the lands behind us. Bulwark of the
It's
west.
some difficult
If the
movement on
passages
it
of the river
compared
should be
to
won, what then?
that, but
Yet that hour, maybe, is not now far away. The nameless enemy has arisen again. Smoke rises once more from our ruin that we call Mount Doom. The power of the Black Land grows, and we are hard beset. When the enemy returned,
yeah, we
our
can really
folk were
see.
driven from Ithilien, our fair domain east of the river, though we kept a foothold there and strength of arm.
It's like a little
But this very year, in the days of June,
pocket
sudden
right
war
there
came upon us out of Mordor, and we were swept away.
compared
We
to.
were outnumbered, for Mordor has allied itself with the Easterlings and the cruel Haradrim. But it was not by numbers that we were
I think that it was over 10 years.
that we have not felt before. Some said that it could be seen like a great black horseman, a dark shadow under the moon. Wherever he came,
Yeah, they
killed our foes. That fear fell
I
on
lost a
our
lot of
boldest,
the
so
meat
that
in
horse and
between.
man gave way and fled. Only a remnant of our eastern force came back, destroying the last bridge that stood amid the ruins of Osgiliath.
Yeah, because when they put it back, they ended up putting
until it was cast
2
down
pins
behind us.
right
For
here that
only
stuck
we
out
saved by swimming,
that
my
I ended
brother
up
and
having to
myself
get
and
removed
2
later
others.
on.
But still we fight on, holding all the west
But yeah,
shores of Anduin, and those who shelter behind us
was
give us praise.
an eventful night. It was just supposed to be a weekend trip down
only
here, and
from Rohan
ended up being
any men write to us when we call.
down
In
here
this evil
a
hour,
lot longer,
I have
over a
come
month
on
or
an errand
so.
over many dangerous
Because there was a
leagues
couple
to
weeks,
Elrond.
just
110 days
I think
I
it
have
was over a
journeyed
couple
all
weeks,
alone.
just in
But I
Lubbock
do not
for
seek allies in war.
being life
The
flighted out
might
of there.
of Elrond is in wisdom, not in weapons, it said.
What
I
sucked
come to
was
ask your counsel,
the trip
unraveling of
back,
hard words.
because
For on the
they
eve of
life
the
flighted me
sudden
out
assault,
up there,
a
but
dream came to my brother in a troubled
to
state.
get back,
And afterwards a
my
love
mom
dream came
was up
back to
there,
him again,
and my
and
brother.
once to me.
So
In
they
that
ended up
dream,
bringing me
I
back
thought
down
the
here, and
eastern sky grew dark,
yeah,
and
because
there was a growing
both
thunder.
my
And
hands
in
were
the west a
bandaged up.
pale light lingered, and out of it I heard a voice.
Because this one had the
remote,
stitches and
clear,
the 2
crying,
pins in it,
Seek for
and
the
this one was
sword that was
bandaged up
broken.
because
In Imladris it
the way I was
dwells.
holding it was
There
a
shall be
mortar
counsels
shell.
taken,
Those ones where you throw
stronger
like
than
the
Morgoth spells.
little
There shall be
single or
shown a
double
token
balls in the
that
tube
doom
and
is near at hand.
light it, then they
For
shoot out and
Isildur's bane
explode.
shall waken,
It was
and
one
the
of those. It
heartland
was a
forth shall stand.
double shot one,
Of these
and I was
words
holding
we
it
could
on my
understand
leg,
little, and
and
we spoke to our father,
it ended
Denethor,
up blowing up in the
Lord of
tube.
Minas Tirith, wise in the lore of Gondor.
And I blew this
This
thumb
only would
almost
he
all the way
say,
off and
that
broke all the tendons
Imladris
in this
was
hand.
of old the name among the elves of a far northern Dane.
So I remember when it
where
happened.
Elrond the half-elven dwelt.
I remember when it was
Great was the
lying
blow,
there
my
sparking, and
Therefore, my
the
brother,
buddy we're there with
see
said,
how desperate was our need.
all I hear
We
was like,
to
toss
heed the
it.
dream, and seek
And I
for
looked up, I was
Imladris.
like, huh?
But since
And then
the
it
way
blew
was
up.
full of doubt and danger, I
And
took the journey upon myself.
I remember it being a
Loath was my father to give me leave.
really big
Long
like
have I wandered by roads
flash of
forgotten,
light.
seeking the
And I
house of
remember it
Elrond,
hurt
of
because
which many had
I don't
heard,
know what happened to
but
the tube.
few
The
knew
tube
where
was
it
this
lay.
like disintegrated. But I remember
And
it
here
hurt
in the
real
house
bad. I
of
was like,
Elrond,
fuck.
more should
I
be
held my
made
hand
clear
like
to you,
this,
said Aragorn,
just
standing
clenching
up.
like head down because I was
He
standing
cast
up
the sword
still.
upon the table that
And then I
stood
remember
before
looking
Elrond,
at this
and
hand.
the blade was in 2 pieces.
I was like, okay.
Here is the sword that was
It
broken.
looked a little
he said.
darker. like because it was at night. But then I opened up this hand, and because I did the same with this one, I did with this, I kind of stretched it out. I did that, and I saw down here, it just opened up and just start pouring blood. And then, at least to me, when I saw that, I closed my hand up, and I just kind of like looked up and started walking. And I guess I started walking away from the house down the street. They had to get me, turn me around, and take me to the house while they're wait for the ambulance while they're calling while they're calling 911, and we're having to wait. So they steered me back to the house, and when that happened, I saw that and I started walking. It's like everything went to a black and white movie. Everything I was seeing around me was like in black and white for a little bit when it first happened. I'm not sure why, but at least that's what it seemed like to me.
He was shaken by a sudden
and then
fear, and he felt a great
we get inside the house, and
a loathing of its
well, what happened there?
He wished he was far away. The ring gleamed and flickered as he held
not sure why it's not staying in focus.
Behold Isildur's vein, said
yeah, my brother had a belt around my wrist right here and had my hand wrapped up and whatnot, and
is then the doom of Minas
yeah, that was
at last? But why then?
Eventful night. Waiting for the ambulance to get there. Then
the words were not the doom
all
of
that
Minas Tirith, said Aragorn, but doom and great
died twice that night, and waking up in the
sword that was broken,
hospital room eventually in Lubbock
when he fell.
recovery,
It has been
waiting for the next surgery.
When all other heirlooms were lost, for it was spoken of old among us that it should be made again when the ring Isildur's vein was found.
I definitely survived a lot.
What would you ask?
I think I've
the house of Elendil to return
died
to Gondor?
A total of like I think like 5 or 6 times now so far.
But to seek only the meaning of a riddle, answered Boromir proudly. Definitely
I've had an interesting life.
Elendil would be a help beyond our hope, if such a thing could indeed return out of the shadows of the past. He looked again at Aragorn, and doubt was in his eyes.
Definitely wouldn't.
Frodo felt Bilbo stir impatiently at his side.
Wish that on anyone, not even my worst enemy.
He was annoyed
on all the shit I've gone through and survived.
Up, he burst out. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes of fire shall be woken. A light from the shadow shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king. Not very good, perhaps, but to the point, if you need more beyond the word of Elrond. If that was worth a journey of 110 days to hear, you had best listen to it. He sat down with a snort. I made that up myself, he whispered to Frodo. For the Dunedain, a long time ago, when he first told me about himself. I almost wish that my adventures were not over, and that I could go with him when his day comes. Aragorn smiled at him. Then he turned to Boromir again. For my part, I forgive your doubt, he said. Little do I resemble the figures of Elendil and Isildur as they stand carven in their majesty in the halls of Denethor. I am but the heir of Isildur, not Isildur himself. I've had a hard life and a long, and the leagues that lie between here and Gondor are a small part in the count of my journeys. I've crossed many mountains and many rivers, and trodden many plains, even into the far countries of Brune and Harad, where the stars are strange. But my home, such as I have, is in the north. For here the heirs of Valandil have ever dwelt in long line unbroken from father unto son for many generations. Our days have darkened, and we have dwindled. But ever the sword has passed to a new keeper.
I've definitely
I will say to you, Boromir,
had my fair share of hospital stays.
Rangers of the wild, hunters, but hunters ever of the servants of the enemy, for they are found in many places, not in Mordor only. If Gondor, Boromir,
before I do
has
the
been a
stab, I'll
stalwart
be
tower,
right back.
we have played another part. Many evil things there are that your strong walls and bright swords do not stay. You know little of the lands beyond your bounds. Peace and freedom, do you say? The North would have known them little but for us. Fear would have destroyed them. But when dark things come from the houseless hills, or creep from sunless woods, they fly from us. What roads would any dare to tread? What safety would there be in quiet lands, or in the homes of simple men at night, if the Dunedain were asleep, or were all gone into the grave? And yet less thanks have we than you. Travellers scowl at us, and countrymen give us scornful names. Strider I am to one fat man who lives within a day's march of foes that would freeze his heart, or lay his little town in ruin if he were not guarded ceaselessly. Yet we would not have it otherwise. If simple folk are free from care and fear, simple they will be, and we must be secret to keep them so. That has been the task of my kindred, while the years have lengthened and the grass has grown. But now the world is changing once again. A new hour comes. Isildur's bane is found. Battle is at hand. The sword shall be reforged. I will come to Minas Tirith. Isildur's bane is found, you say? Said Boromir. I have seen a bright ring in the halfling's hand, but Isildur perished ere this age of the world began, they say. How do the wise know that this ring is his? And how has it passed down the years until it is brought hither by so strange a messenger? That shall be told, said Elrond. But not yet, I beg, master, said Bilbo. Already the sun is climbing to noon, and I feel the need of something to strengthen me. I had not named you, said Elrond, smiling, but I do so now. Come, tell us your tale, and if you have not yet cast your story into verse, you may tell it in plain words. The briefer, the sooner shall you be refreshed. Very well, said Bilbo. I will do as you bid, but I will now tell the true story, and if some here have heard me tell it otherwise, he looked sidelong at Gloin, I ask them to forget it and forgive me. I only wished to claim the treasure as my very own in those days, and to be rid of the name of thief that was put on me. But perhaps I understand things a little better now.
Trout, you
Anyway,
definitely gotta
this is what happened.
have a couple of them to make a decent little meal.
To some there, Bilbo's tale
Unless you get a couple of good sized ones.
While the old hobbit, actually not at all displeased,
Yeah, me and
recounted his adventure
most
with
hated
Gollum,
grower went
full
fishing
length.
today,
He
or
did
this
not
morning,
omit a single riddle.
or should I say yesterday
He
morning,
would have given also an account of his party and
since it is
disappearance from the
past
Shire,
midnight.
if he had been allowed, but Elrond raised his hand. Well told, my friend.
We probably
he said,
won't
but that is enough
go
at this
tomorrow
time.
just 'cause
For the moment it suffices to know
they do
that
a
the real
fireworks
heart
show
of
around that
Frodo,
part,
your heir.
like
Let
at least
him
that
now
area.
Then,
So there's gonna be all
less
kinds of
willingly
people
than
all
Bilbo,
over there. So
Frodo told of all his dealings with the ring from the day that it passed into his keeping. Every step of his journey from Hobbiton to the ford of Bruin was questioned and considered, and everything that he could tell
definitely have to
concerning the
catch a
Black Riders
couple,
was examined.
good couple of them.
At last he sat down.
We usually don't get a
Not bad.
trout till winter because
You
our
would have made a
summers,
good story of it.
yeah,
If
right
I
now it'd
hadn't
be
kept
too hot
on
for them.
interrupting, I tried to make a few notes. But we should
Because
have
today
to go
we
over it
hit,
all again together sometime. If
I
I'm to
think,
write it down.
101.
There are whole chapters
And then
of
last
stuff
week we
before you
had
got here.
a couple times that it was 106
But the story still
Fahrenheit.
don't seem complete to me.
I'm not sure what that would be in Celsius.
Especially from Gandalf.
Excuse me.
Galdor of the Havens, who sat nearby, overheard him. You speak for me also, he cried. And turning to Elrond, he said, The wise may have good reason to believe that the Halfling's trove is indeed the great ring of long debate, and that may seem to those who know less. May they not hear the fruits? This also. What of Saruman? He is learned in the lore of the rings, yet he is not among us. What is his counsel, if he knows the things that we have heard? The questions that you ask, Galdor, are bound together, said Elrond. I have not overlooked them, and they shall be answered. But these things it is the part of Gandalf to make clear, and I call upon him last, for it is the place of honor, and in all this matter he has been the chief. Some, Galdor, said Gandalf, would think the tidings of Gloin and the pursuit of Frodo proof enough that the halflings told something of great worth to the enemy. Yet it is a ring. What then? The 9 the Nazgul keep. The 7 are taken or destroyed. At this Gloin stirred, but did not speak. The 3 we know of. What then is this one that he desires so much? There is indeed a wide waste of time between the river and the mountain, between the loss and the finding. But the gap in the knowledge of the wise has been filled at last, yet too slowly. For the enemy has been close behind, closer than I feared. And where it is, not until this year, this very summer, as it seems, did we learn the full truth. Some here will remember that many years ago I myself dared to pass the doors of the necromancer in Dol Guldur, and secretly explored his ways, and found thus that our fears were true. He was none other than Sauron, old, at length taking shape and power again. Some, too, will remember also that Saruman dissuaded us from open deeds against him, and for long we watched him only. Yet at last, as his shadow grew, Saruman yielded, and the council put forth its strength, and drove the evil out of Mirkwood. And that was in the very year of the finding of this ring. A strange chance, if chance it was. But we were too late. Elrond foresaw. Sauron also had watched us, and had long prepared against our stroke, gathered in Mordor from afar through Minas Morgul, where his 9 servants dwelt, until all was ready. Then he gave way before us, but only feigned to flee, and soon after came to the dark tower and openly declared himself. This was the last time the council met, and now we learned that he was seeking ever more eagerly for the one. We feared then that he had some news of it that we knew nothing of. But Saruman said nay, and repeated what he had said to us before, that the one would never again be found in Middle-earth. At the worst, said he, our enemy knows that we have it not, and that it still is lost. But what was lost may yet be found, he thinks. Fear not, his hope will cheat him. Have I not earnestly studied this matter? Into Anwin the Great it fell, and long ago, while Sauron slept, it was rolled down the river to the sea. There let it lie until the end. Gandalf fell silent. Gazing eastward from the porch to the far peaks of the Nippon Mountains, at whose great roots the peril of the world.
That's crazy, a Sasquatch.
He sighed.
Yeah, ours is pretty much
there I was at fault.
Part of
I was lulled by
it goes through a town, it's a lake, but
I should have sought for the food
or river. It's part of the Pecos River.
We were all at fault, said Elrond. And but for your
and it pretty much flows through town.
Maybe would already be upon us. But say on. From the first my heart misgave me, against all reason that I knew, said Gandalf. I desired to know how this was solemn, how long he had possessed it. So I set a watch for him, guessing that he would ere long come forth from his darkness to seek for his treasure. He came, but he escaped and was not found. And then, alas, I let the matter rest, watching and waiting only, as we have too often done. Time passed with many cares, until my doubts were awakened again to sudden fear. Whence came the hobbit's ring? What, if my fear was true, should be done with it? Those things I must decide. But I spoke yet of my dread to none, knowing the peril of an untimely whisper, if it went astray. In all the long wars of the Dark Tower, treason has ever been our greatest foe.
Shit. Yeah, our winners are.
Soon I
don't think you can really call them winners. At least not for us.
Birds were gathered round the shower.
Because I'll still run around in shirts like this, shorts,
and their watch was doubled.
During our winter, so we'll get cold.
And
I guess you could call it cold. I think we got down to like 40 or 30 Fahrenheit for our winter, so not very much.
I went with Gandalf on the long and hopeless search.
So let's see.
Then Gandalf told how they had explored the whole length of Wilderland, down even to the mountains of Shadow and the fences of Mordor.
Because right now,
there we had rumor of him.
At least for me, it's 12:45 a.m.
And at last I despaired.
And it's 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's see what it'd be in Celsius.
The ring itself might tell if it were the one. The memory of
we're at
came back to me.
28 degrees Celsius.
At the time, I heard them now clearly in my heart. The 9, the 7, and the 3, he said, had each their proper gem. Not so the one. It was round and unadorned.
And today is supposed to be...
But its maker set marks upon it that the skilled maybe...
Let's see, in Celsius, it's supposed to be...
What those marks were, he had not said.
40 degrees Celsius.
The maker and Saruman.
Hey, Soy, how you doing?
Though his law may be, it must have a
sword. Tomorrow's supposed to be 40, or later on today, it's supposed to be 40 degrees Celsius.
The hand of
which for us is, I believe, 104.
And passed swiftly to Gondor.
Oh no.
In former days, the members of
my it's going to be 104 degrees Fahrenheit for us tomorrow.
Most of all. Often he had been for long the guest of the lords of the city.
How you been doing, Soy?
Lord Denethor showed me then that of old, and grudgingly he permitted me to...
Hell yeah, let's do another dab.
If indeed you look only, as you say, for records of ancient days and the beginnings of the city, read on, he said. For to me what was is less dark than what is to come, and that is my care. But unless you have more skill even than Saruman,
I wish we had Ray.
You will find naught that is not
especially since
excuse me, of the Lord of this city.
People are gonna be setting off all kinds of fireworks tomorrow or later on tonight.
Even of the lore masters, for their scripts and tongues have become dark to later men. And Boromir,
hell yeah,
lies in Minas Tirith still unread, I guess, by any save Saruman and myself since the king's fade, a scroll that Isildur made himself. For Isildur did not march away straight from the war in Mordor, as some have told the tale.
Hell yeah.
Some in the north, maybe, Boromir broke in.
And let me show you a picture of the smoke I got now, or that I've been smoking on, so
instructing him before he committed to him the rule of the South Kingdom. In that time he planted there the last sapling of the white tree in memory of his brother. But in that time also he made this scroll, said Gandalf, and that is not remembered in Gondor, it would seem, for this scroll concerns the ring, and thus wrote Isildur therein. The great ring shall go now to be an heirloom of the North Kingdom, but records of it should be left in Gondor, where also dwell the heirs of Elendil, lest the time come when the memory of these great matters shall grow dim. And after these words, Isildur described the ring such as he found it. It was hot when I first took it, hot as a gleed, and my hand was scorched. so that I doubt if ever again I shall be free of the pain of it. Yet even as I write it is cooled, and it seemeth to shrink, though it loseth neither its beauty nor its shape. Already the writing upon it, which at first was as clear as red flame, fadeth, and is now only barely to be read. It is fashioned in an elven script of Origium, for they have no letters in Mordor for such subtle work, but the language is unknown to me. I deem it to be a tongue of the Black Land. It is foul and uncouth. What evil it saith I do not know, but I trace here a copy of it, lest it fade beyond recall. The ring misseth, maybe, the heat of Sauron's hand, which was black and yet burned like fire, and so Gil-galad was destroyed. And maybe were the gold made hot again, the writing would be refreshed. But for my part I will risk no hurt to this thing. Of all the works of Sauron the only fair, it is precious to me, though I buy it with great pain. When I read these words, my quest was ended, for the traced writing was indeed as Isildur guessed.
Yeah, this one
in the
is.
tongue of Mordor and the servants of the Tower. And what was said therein
It's
was
a sugar
known,
rosin.
for in
It's
the day that
candy.
Sauron first put on the one, Celebrimbor, maker of the
Chrome.
tree, was aware of him, and from afar he heard him speak these words, and so his evil purposes were revealed. At once I took my leave of Denethor, but even as I went northwards, messages came to me out of Lorien that Aragorn had passed that way, and that he had found the creature called Gollum. Therefore I went first to meet him and hear his tale. Into what deadly perils he had gone alone, I dared not guess. There is little need to tell of them, said Aragorn. If a man must needs walk in sight of the Black Gate, or tread the deadly flowers of Mordor Vale,
I'm not sure what happened, everyone.
I too despaired at last, and I began my homeward journey. And then, by fortune, I came suddenly on what I sought, the marks of soft feet beside a muddy pool.
What did I do?
But now the trail was fresh and swift.
I'm not sure what happened with this camera. It's still new. I'm trying to learn it, but I guess it had like an autofocus or some shit like that. I move closer, I move, and it messes up.
It was covered with green slime. He will never
I'm not all that tech savvy on like webcams and whatnot.
Nothing more did I ever get from his mouth.
Because my last one burnt out because I went and bought a really cheap one.
Part of all my journey, the road back,
but this one, I didn't go cheap, but it wasn't real expensive. But it's a Logitech one.
Food, driving him ever towards Mirkwood. I brought him there at last and gave him to the elves, for we had agreed that this should be done. And I was glad to be rid of his company as he stepped. For my part, I hope never to look upon him again. But Gandalf came and endured long speech with him. Yes, long and weird, said Gandalf. But for one thing, taking hold of his loss, agreed with that who was now told openly for the first time. But that mattered little, since I had already guessed it. But I learned then first that Gollum's ring came out of the great river, nigh to the Gladden Fields. And I learned also that he had possessed it long.
Hell yeah, Sam Squash, that's always good.
The power of the ring had been years far beyond their time, but that power only the great rings wield. And if that is not proof enough, there is the other test that I spoke of. Upon this very ring, which you have held aloft, round and unadorned, the letters that Isildur reported may still be read, if one has the strength of will to set the golden thing in the fire a while. That I have done, and this I have read. Ash Nazg Turbatuluk, Ash Nazg Gimbatul, Ash Nazg Srakatuluk, Ach Morzum Ishikul. The wizard's voice was astounding. Suddenly it became menacing, powerful, harsh as stone, A shadow seemed to pass over the high sun, and the porch for a moment grew dark. All trembled, and the elves stopped their ears. Never before has any voice dared to utter the words of that tongue in Imladris, Gandalf the Grey, said Elrond, as the shadow passed and the company breathed once more. And let us hope that none will ever speak it here again, answered Gandalf. Nonetheless, I do not ask your pardon, Master Elrond, for if that tongue is not soon to be heard in every corner of the West, then let all put doubt aside that this thing is indeed what the wise have declared, the treasure of the enemy, fraught with all his malice, and in it lies a great part of his strength of old. Out of the black years come the words that the smiths of Eregion heard, and knew that they had been betrayed. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Know also, my friends, that I learned more yet from Gollum. He was loath to speak, but his tale was unclear. But it is beyond all doubt that he went to Mordor, and there all that he knew was foretold. Thus he knows now.
That's why
that it was long
me and most hated grower harvest and grows, because
he soon will know. Already he may know, even as I speak,
so
that we have it here.
We don't have to worry about getting it from the dispo or getting it from anywhere else. We have our own shit. We know what we put into it, put into everything as far as like soil, nutrients. So
he is in prison now, but no worse, said Aragorn. He had suffered much. There is no doubt that he was tormented, and the fear of Sauron lies black on his heart.
Having
I, for one, am glad that he is safely kept by the watchful elves of Mirkwood.
Whatchamacallit?
His malice is great.
Having to pay the price you have to at some of the dispos and not getting that good a quality, or getting it for someone that's untrustworthy and he give you something that in your put something in your smoke or whatnot.
In his fair elvish face there was great distress. The tidings that I was sent to bring must now be told. They are not good, but only here have I learned how evil they may seem to this company. Smeagol, who is now called Gollum, has escaped. Escaped? Cried Aragorn. That is ill news indeed. We shall all rue it bitterly, I fear. How came the folk of Thranduil to fail in their trust? Not through lack of watchfulness, said Legolas, but perhaps through overkindness. And we fear that the prisoner has aid from others, and that more is known about doing than we could wish. We guarded this creature day and night, at Gandalf's bidding, much though we wearied of the task. But Gandalf bade us hope.
Because even around, like,
and we had
at least in the state I live in New Mexico,
where he would fall back into
there's already been kids that's gotten weed from someone on the street that they didn't know, and they got it from a friend, or their friend got it for them from someone else or whatnot. Whatever the case is, they're getting weed that's been laced with fentanyl. And that's already taken out a couple people in this state. Because people are doing stupid shit like that to people.
Gollum through the woods, and there was a high tree standing alone far from the others, which he liked to climb. Often we let him mount up to the highest branches until he felt the free wind, but we set a guard at the tree's foot. One day he refused to come down, and the guards had no right to climb after him. He had learned the trick of clinging to boughs with his feet.
That's where he is. That's why I'd rather grow my own, get my own stuff.
It was that very night of summer, yet moonless and starless.
It makes it a lot safer.
Came on us at unawares. We drove them off after some time. There were many and fierce, but they came from over the mountains and were unused to the woods. When the battle was over, we found that Gollum was gone, and his guards were slain or taken. It then seemed plain to us that the attack had been made for his rescue, and that he knew of it beforehand. How that was contrived we cannot
Right,
guess.
missed the good old days.
Cunning, and the spies of the enemy are many. The dark things that
Getting
were driven out
four-finger
in the year of the dragon's
lids.
fall have returned in greater numbers.
4 fingers and you're
and
paying like 40 bucks.
again an evil place, save where our realm is maintained. We have failed to recapture Palm.
Right. I had a
among those of many orcs,
well,
and it
most hated grower had a bad scare with that because I get pain pills prescribed, and it was some other ones that someone had found, and I looked, and it was at a time that I was out when I was really hurting,
He must
and
do what he will,
I looked him up
but he may play a part yet that neither he
and
nor
everything
Sauron have foreseen.
multiple times and
And
whatnot,
now I
and
will answer
they came out as
other question.
the pain pill I took.
What of Saruman? What are
And
his counsels to us in this need?
I took it,
This
and
tale I must tell in full,
yeah, it wasn't
for
that.
only
It was
Elrond has heard it, and
it was a
that is
fentanyl pill. So
but
impressed
it
to
will bear on
be
all
marked
that we
as
must resolve.
my pain pill.
It is the last chapter
And
in the tale
yeah,
of
I
the
think
ring, so far as it
I
has
scared the
yet
shit out of most hated because he's sitting right next to me, and
At the end
yeah,
of June,
and I went out. He ended up
a cloud of anxiety was on my mind,
keeping me
and I rode
conscious
to the southern border
and whatnot. After a while, after he
but
got
I
me
had
out
a
of it,
foreboding of some danger,
I guess he
still hidden from me,
slapped the shit out of me several
Their
times to
messages reached me,
bring me out.
telling me of war and defeat
And
in
once
Gondor.
he brought me out,
And
he
when I heard
kept
of
me
the
awake
black
till
shadow,
paramedics
chills
got
smote
there.
my heart.
But
But
yeah,
I found
scared the
nothing
shit
but
out of
a few
him.
fugitives from the south.
And
Yet
when
it
I was
seemed to me
when they
that
take me
on
to
them
the
sat a
ambulance,
fear
they
of
ended up
which
giving
they
me
would not speak. I turned then
2
east
doses
north,
of
journeyed along the green road,
Narcan to
and not far
Narcan,
from
whatever
me,
it's called,
I came
to
upon a traveler
actually
sitting on
bring
a
me out
bank
of it.
beside the road with his grazing horse beside him.
So yeah,
It was Radagast
now
Brown, who at one
I
time
don't get it from
was
nowhere
a
besides
crossroad near the
my
borders of Mirkwood.
prescription. If I
He
run
had
out,
my order,
I'll
but I
just
had not
suffer
seen him for
with
many
the
a
pain
year.
until
Gandalf,
my
he
script's
cried,
renewed.
I was seeking you, but I am a stranger in these parts.
Right? No one deserves that
You
shit.
might be found in a wild region with the uncouth name of Shire. Your information was correct, I said.
Yeah, but
do not
definitely
way. You meet any
scared most hated.
You're near the borders of the Shire now.
That was
What do you want with me?
definitely
pressing.
that experience I did not want to go through again.
Need. I have an urgent errand, he said. My news is evil. Then he looked about him, as if the hedges might have ears.
Yeah.
My
my script I have for pain pills,
the 9 are abroad again.
I actually use it for pain because I have a messed up back. I've had 2 surgeries on it, 5 spinal taps, and then the pain I have from my hand.
Must have some great need or purpose, said Radagast, for what it is that makes him look to these distant and desolate
Right,
parts,
definitely no safe amount.
What do you mean?
I definitely.
I have been told wherever they go, the riders ask
definitely something else.
Called Shire. The Shire, I said, but my heart sank. For even the wise might fear to withstand the 9.
And then at least around this state, in New Mexico, there's always reports of
I asked. Saruman the White.
People getting busted for having it and all kinds of crazy shit like that.
He will help, but you must seek his aid at once, or it will be too late. And that message brought me hope.
And like I said,
for Saruman the White is the greatest of my order.
People
Radagast is, of course,
giving people it because they think it's something else, intentionally,
and he has
or like I was saying earlier, just
and birds are especially his friends.
They're
lacing
it on other shit and handing it out to people.
And thus
that's just a fucked up drug, and
it was by the device
messed up when people do that shit.
Drove him from Dol Guldur. It might be that he had found some weapons that would drive back the 9. I will go to Saruman, I said.
Man-made shit.
Then you must go now, said Radagast. for I have wasted time in looking for you, and the days
Bad
are running
enough,
short.
I gotta
I was told
take
to
all the
find you
medicine
before
that's
midsummer,
prescribed to me.
and that is now here. Even if you set
All
out
my
from
blood
this
pressure
spot, you
medicine,
will
my
hardly
pain
reach me before the
medicine.
nine discover the land that they seek.
Wish I didn't
I
have to take
myself
it
shall
all.
turn back at once. And with that he mounted and would have ridden straight off. Stay a moment, I said. We shall need your help, and the help of all things that will give it. Send messages to all the beasts and birds that are your friends. Tell them to bring news of anything that bears on this matter to Saruman and Gandalf. Let messages be sent to Orthanc. I will do that, he said, and rode off, and the nine were after him. I could not follow him anymore. I had ridden very far already that day, and I was as weary as my horse, and I needed to consider matters. I stayed the night in Bree, and decided that I had no time to return to the Shire. Never did I make a greater mistake. However, I wrote a message to Frodo, and trusted to my friend the innkeeper to send it to him. I rode away at dawn, and I came at long last to the dwelling of Saruman. That is far south in Isengard, in the end of the Misty Mountains, not
That's
far
crazy.
from the Gap of Rohan. And Boromir will tell you that is a great open vale that lies between the Misty Mountains and the northmost foothills of Eret Nimreus, the White Mountain.
Cause me, they got me on a
But Isengard is a circle of
three different
valley,
blood pressure medications to control my blood pressure.
Is a tower of stone called
Oh, even when I smoke.
It was not made by Saruman.
Oh shit, that's crazy.
Long ago, and it is very
After a lot of rain, Sam.
Secrets, yet it looks not to be
even
it cannot be reached, save by passing the Isengard. And there is only one gate.
Even whatchamacallit,
one evening,
smoking as much as I do, my blood pressure was still, I guess, it scared the nurses and doctors at like the ER and whatnot.
And told me that Saruman awaited me.
Because they said it wasn't
the gate closed silently
a matter of
and suddenly I was afraid.
If I was gonna have a stroke,
but I rode
it was a matter of when.
Came to the stairs of Saruman. He met me, led me up to his He wore a ring on his finger. So you have come, Gandalf, he said to me gravely.
I tried to eat healthy, but
in his eyes,
I ate a lot of Mexican food.
Light, as if a cold laughter was in his heart.
Because my blood pressure,
I have come for
when it was low,
Saruman,
for me,
and that title seems
it was,
have you
what was it?
Gandalf the Grey.
190 over like 110.
It has
that's when it was low.
That Gandalf the Grey
or
for aid, one so cunning and so wise.
One like 85 over like 105 or 110. It was always something crazy like that. And that's when it was low. And it was at the point where it didn't make me sick no more. Like from when people get high blood pressure and they get sick and they feel it. It felt normal to me.
Have you concealed from me, the head of the council, a matter of greatest import? What brings you now from your lurking place in the shrine?
And now it's what they have me on.
The nine have come forth again.
I guess somewhat normal.
Across the river, so Radagast said to me. Radagast the Brown, laughed Saruman, and he no longer concealed his scorn. Radagast the bird tamer, Radagast the simple, Radagast the fool. Yet he had just the wit to play the part that I set him. Well, you have come, and that was all the purpose of my message. And here you will stay, Gandalf the Grey, and rest from journeys. I am Saruman the Wise, Saruman Ringmaker, Saruman of many colors. I looked then and saw that his robes, which had seemed white, were not so, but were woven of all colors, and if he moved they shimmered and changed hue, so that the eye was bewildered. I liked white better, I said. White, he sneered. It serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed. The white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken. In which case it is no longer white, I said, and he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. You need not speak to me as to one of the fools that you take of friends, said he. I have not brought you hither to be instructed by you,
mine's pretty much
but to give you a choice. He drew himself up then,
red
and
meat,
began to declaim, as if he were making
a lot of chilies, green chili, red chili.
The elder days are gone, the middle days are passing,
a lot of greasy
the
food.
days are beginning. The time of the elves is over, but our time is at hand, the world of men, which we must rule. But we must have power, power to order all things as we will, for that good which only the wise can see. And listen, Gandalf, my old friend and helper, he said, coming near and speaking now in a softer voice. I said we,
right. That's the bad part about it is
join with it. A new power is rising.
We're
against it, the old allies
we're Mexican, so
not avail us at
that's
all.
a lot of what we eat.
There is no hope left in
and even if we go to
this then is one choice before you, for us. We may join with that power.
Even if we go to our moms to eat like we do once in a while, it's still Mexican food.
And there will be rich reward for those that aided it. As the power grows, its proved friends will also grow, and the wise, such as you and I, may with patience come at last to direct its courses.
We went there the other night to eat, and it was she cooked
we can keep our thoughts
Friedels with some hamburger meat.
Evils done by the way, but approving the high and ultimate purpose, knowledge, rule, order, all the things that we have so far striven in vain to accomplish, hindered rather than helped by our weak or idle friends. There need not be, there would not be any reason.
It's always it's almost that time of year to where me and my brother
I have heard speeches of
buy some good hatch green chili and have it roasted.
I cannot think that you brought me so far.
Best smell in the world is when they're roasting green chili.
And paused a while.
Can't beat that smell.
Well, I see that this wise course does not commend itself to you, he said. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived. He came and laid his hand on my arm. And why not, Gandalf, he whispered. Why not? The ruling ring. If we could command that, then the power would pass to us. That is
because
for I have many
and the best green chili is Hatch green chili from Hatch, New Mexico.
Not so.
Give me 1 second, everyone. I'll be right back.
And what is your business there? As he said this, a lust which he could not conceal shone suddenly in his eyes. Saruman, I said, standing away from him, only one hand at a time can wield the ring, and you know that well, so do not trouble to say we. But I would not give it, nay, I would not give even news of it to you, now that I learn your mind. You were head of the council, but you have unmasked yourself at last. Well, the choices are, it seems, to submit to Sauron or to yourself. I will take neither. Have you others to offer? He was cold now and perilous. Yes, he said. I did not expect you to show wisdom, even in your own behalf, but I gave you the chance of aiding me willingly, and so saving yourself much trouble and pain. The third choice is to stay here until the end. Until what end? Until you reveal to me where the one may be found, I may find means to persuade you, or until it is found in your despite, and the ruler has time to turn to lighter matters, to devise, say, a fitting reward for the hindrance and insolence of Gandalf the Grey. That may not prove to be one of the lighter matters, said I. He laughed at me, for my words were empty. He knew it. They took me and they set me alone on the pinnacle of Orthanc, in the place where Saruman was accustomed to watch the stars. There is no descent by a narrow stair of many thousand steps.
Me and my brother will buy
And the valley below seems far
a box
away.
of it.
I looked on it and saw that, whereas it had once been green and fair,
And then
it was now filled with
that's what's
pits
cool
and
about it. You
forges.
buy your box
Wolves
inside the
and
store.
orcs were housed in hiding
Once you're done
yards.
with your
For
shopping,
Saruman
go
was
outside
mustering a
and
great force on his own account, in rivalry of
they roast it
Sauron,
up for
and
you.
not in his service yet.
Because they'll do that.
Over all his works a dark
Bring it to
smoke
that.
hung
Bring it
and wrapped
home.
itself about the sides of Orphan.
Throw it on the kitchen
I
table with
stood alone
the
on an
bag
island in
open,
the
just
clouds, and I had no chance of escape. And my days
let it
were
cool down a
bitter.
little bit. Then
I was pierced
start
with cold,
loading
and I had but little
the
room in
Ziploc
which to
baggies.
pace to and fro, brooding on the coming of the riders to the north.
Put 6 in
That
each
the
baggie
night
and
had indeed arisen,
let
I
them
felt
cool
assured,
down, and
apart
then
from
throw them in the
words of
freezer.
Saruman which might be lies.
Then you have
Long ere I came to Isengard,
green chili
I had
stocked
heard
up for the
tidings
year.
by the way that could not be mistaken. Fear was ever in my heart for my friends in the Shire, but still I had some hope. I hoped that Frodo had set forth at once, as my letter had urged, and that he had reached Rivendell before the deadly pursuit began. And both my fear and my hope proved ill-founded, for my hope was founded on a fat man in Bree, and my fear was founded on the cunning of Sauron. But fat men who sell ale have many calls to answer, and the power of Sauron is still less than fear makes it. But in the circle of Isengard, trapped and alone, it was not easy to think that the hunters before whom all had fled or fallen would falter in the Shire far away. I saw you, cried Frodo. You were walking backwards and forwards. The moon shone in your hair. Gandalf paused astonished and looked at him. It was only a dream, said Frodo.
And that'd probably be
a
pricey trying to ship something like that from here to there.
It came some time ago, after I left the Shire.
Just because it's
perishable.
perishable.
Late in coming, said Gandalf. As you will see, I was in an evil planet.
I've looked it up before to send a buddy of mine up in Michigan some, and yeah, it was
like a fly in a spider's
pretty pricey on that.
Even the most subtle spiders may leave a weak thread. At first I feared, as Saruman no doubt intended, that Radagast had also fallen. Yet I had caught no hint of anything wrong in his voice or in his eyes.
You might even be able to find
if I had,
your packaged hatch green chili up in your area. They sell
Saruman guessed,
green chili up there.
Concealed his
mind it's usually in
messenger. It would have been useless in any case.
The frozen section, because it'd be frozen. It's
me in good faith.
the Bueno brand. But the Bueno brand is usually
why he should not do as I asked.
Hatch green chili.
And he rode away
and it's already pretty much
where he had many friends of old.
Chopped up and ready to go. He's got thawed out, added to what you're gonna add it to.
The gathering of
wolves you
and the mustering of orcs.
You get like that in
and
red.
The 9 riders going hither and thither.
Which is there's the red chili, which is the hatch also, where you get the green.
To bring these tidings to me. So it was that when summer waned, there came
so you might be able to still find it up there.
And why here the Windlord?
It'll be packaged, but it's still hatch.
Came unlooked for.
We use that a lot for if we don't want to have to
then I spoke
dig out chili in the freezer and
go
through it, thawing it out and chopping it up. We'll just get
issued from the gate to pursue me.
The frozen package one could still hatch.
Many leagues, said he, from the ends of the earth. I was sent to bear tidings, not burdens. Then I must have a steed on land, I said, and a steed surpassingly swift, for I have never had such a need of haste before. Then I will bear you to Edoras, where the Lord of Rohan sits in his halls, he said. Well, that is not very far off, and I was glad. For in the Riddermark of Rohan, the Rohirrim, the horse lords dwell, and there are no horses like those that are bred in that great vale between the misty mountains and the white. Are the men of Rohan still to be trusted, do you think? I said to Gwaihir, for the treason of Saruman had shaken my faith. They pay a tribute of horses, he answered, and send many yearly to Mordor, or so it is said. They are not yet under the yoke. But if Saruman has become evil, as you say, then their doom cannot be long delayed. He set me down in the land of Rohan ere dawn, and now I have lengthened my tale overlong. The rest must be more brief. In Rohan I found evil already at work, the lies of Saruman, and the king of the land would not listen to my warnings. He bade me take a horse and be gone, and I chose one much to my liking, but little to his. I took the best horse in his land, and I have never seen the like of him. Then he must be a noble beast indeed, said Aragorn, and it grieves me more than many tidings that might seem worse, to learn that Sauron levies such tribute. It was not so when last I was in that land. Nor is it now, I will swear, said Boromir. It's a lie that comes from the enemy. I know the men of Rohan, true and valiant, our allies, dwelling still in the lands that we gave them long ago. The shadow of Mordor lies on distant lands, answered Aragorn. Saruman has fallen under it. Rohan is beset. Who knows what you will find there, if ever you return? Not this at least, said Boromir, but they will buy their lives with horses. They love their horses next to their kin, and not without reason, for the horses of the Riddermark come from the fields of the north, far from the shadow, and their race, as that of their masters, is descended from the free days of old. True indeed, said Gandalf, and there is one among them that might have been foaled in the morning of the world. The horses of the Nine cannot vie with him. Tireless, swift as the flowing wind, Shadowfax they called him. By day his coat glistens like silver, and by night it is like a shade, and he passes unseen. Light is his footfall. Never before had any man mounted him, but I took him and I tamed him, and so speedily he bore me that I reached the Shire when Frodo was on the Barrow Downs, though I set out from Rohan only when he set out from Hobbiton. But fear grew in me as I rode. Ever as I came north, I heard tidings of the riders, and though I gained on them day by day, they were ever before me. They had divided their forces, I learned. Some remained on the eastern borders, not far from the Greenway, and some invaded the Shire from the south. I came to Hobbiton, and Frodo had gone, but I had words with old Gamgee, many words and few to the point. He had much to say about the shortcomings of the new owners of Bag End. I can't abide changes, said he, not at my time of life, and least of all changes for the worst. Changes for the worst, he repeated many times. Worst is a bad word, I said to him, and I hope you do not live to see it. But amidst his talk I gathered at last that Frodo had left Hobbiton less than a week before, and that a black horseman had come to the hill the same evening. Then I rode on in fear. I came to Buckland and found it in uproar, as busy as a hive of ants that has been stirred with a stick. I came to the house at Crickhollow, and it was broken open and empty, but on the threshold there lay a cloak that had been Frodo's. Then for a while hope left me, and I did not wait to gather news, for I might have been comforted. But I rode on the trail of the riders. It was hard to follow, for it went many ways, and I was at a loss. But it seemed to me that one or two had ridden towards Bree, and that way I went, for I thought of words that might be said to the innkeeper. Butterbur, they call him, thought I. If this delay was his fault, I will melt all the butter in him. I will roast the old fool over a slow fire. He expected no less, and when he saw my face, he fell down flat and began to melt on the spot. What did you do to him? Cried Frodo in alarm. He was really very kind to us, and did all that he could. Gandalf laughed. Don't be afraid, he said. I didn't bite, and I barked very little. So overjoyed was I by the news that I got out of him when he stopped quaking, that I embraced the old fellow. How it happened I could not then guess, but I learned that you had been in Bree the night before, and had gone off that morning with Strider. Strider! I cried, shouting for joy. Yes, sir, I'm afraid so, sir, said Butterbur, mistaking me. He got at them in spite of all that I could do, and they took up with him. They behaved very queer all the time they were here. Wilful, you might say. Ass, fool, thrice worthy and beloved Barnabas, said I. It's the best news I have had since midsummer. That's worth a gold piece at the least. May your beer be laid under an enchantment of surpassing excellence for 7 years, said I. Now I can take a night's rest, the first since I have forgotten when. So I stayed there that night, wondering much what had become of the riders, for only of 2 had there yet been any news in Bree, it seemed. But in the night we heard more. 5 at least came from the west, and they threw down the gates and passed through Bree like a howling wind, and the Bree folk were still shivering and expecting the end of the world. I got up to I don't know, but it seems clear to me that this is what happened. Their captain remained in secret away south of Bree, while 2 rode ahead through the village, and 4 more invaded the Shire. But when these were foiled in Bree and at Crickhollow, they returned to their captain with tidings, and so left the road unguarded for a while, except by their spies. The captain then sent some eastward straight across country, and he himself with the rest rode along the road in great wrath. I galloped to Weathertop like a gale, and I reached it before sundown on my 2nd day from Bree. And they were there before me. They drew away from me, for they felt the coming of my anger, and they dared not face it while the sun was in the sky. But they closed round at night, and I was besieged at the hilltop, in the old ring of Amonsul. I was hard put to it indeed. Such light and flame cannot have been seen on Weathertop since the war beacons of old. At sunrise I escaped and fled towards the north. I could not hope to do more. It was impossible to find you, Frodo, in the wilderness, and it would have been folly to try with all the 9 at my heels. So I had to trust to Aragorn. But I hoped to draw some of them off, and yet reach Rivendell ahead of you and send out help. 4 riders did indeed follow me, but they turned back after a while and made for the ford, it seems. That helped a little. But there were only 5, not 9, when your camp was attacked. I reached here at last by a long, hard road, up the Horwell and through the Eton moors and down from the north. It took me nearly 14 days from Weathertop, for I could not ride among the rocks of the Troll Fells, and Shadowfax departed. I sent him back to his master, but a great friendship has grown between us, and if I have need, he will come at my call. But so it was that I came to Rivendell only 3 days before the ring, and the news of its peril had already been brought here, which proved well indeed. And that, Frodo, is the end of my account. May Elrond and the others forgive the length of it, but such a thing has not happened before, that Gandalf broke tryst and did not come when he promised. An account to the ring-bearer of so strange an event was required, I think. Well, the tale is now told, from first to last. Here we all are, and here is the ring. But we have not yet come any nearer to our purpose. What shall we do with it? There was silence. At last, Elrond spoke again.
Oh, yeah, Sasquatch.
This is
You have a
grievous
good
news
one.
concerning Saruman.
Definitely
said,
appreciate you stopping
For we
by, bro.
trusted him, and he is deep in all our counsels.
Have a good
It
night.
is perilous to study too deeply the arts of the enemy, for good or for ill. For such falls and betrayals, alas, have happened before. Of the tales that we have heard this day, the tale of Frodo was most strange to me. I have known few hobbits, save Bilbo here, and it seems to me that he is perhaps not so alone and singular as I had thought him. The world has changed much since I was last on the westward roads. The Barrow Wights we know by many names, and of the old forest many tales have been told. All that now remains is but an outlier of its northern march. Time was when a squirrel could go from tree to tree, from what is now the Shire to Dunland west of Isengard. In those lands I journeyed once, and many things wild and strange I knew, but I had forgotten Bombadil, if indeed this is still the same that walked the woods and hills long ago, and even then was older than the old. That was not then his name. Earwain Benarda we called him, oldest and fatherless. But many another name he has since been given by other folk. Fawn by the dwarves, Orald by northern men, and other names besides. He is a strange creature, but maybe I should have summoned him to our council. He would not have come, said Gandalf. Could we not send messengers to him and obtain his help? Asked Erestor. It seems that he has a power even over the ring. No, I should not put it so, said Gandalf. Say rather that the ring has no power over him. He is his own master, but he cannot alter the ring itself, nor break its power over others. And now he is withdrawn into a little land, within bounds that he has set, though none can see them, waiting perhaps for a change of days, and he will not step beyond them. But within these bounds nothing seems to dismay him, said Erestor. Would he not take the ring and keep it there, for ever harmless? No, said Gandalf, not willingly. He might do so, if all the free folk of the world begged him, but he would not understand the need. And if he were given the ring, he would soon forget it, or most likely throw it away. Such things have no hold on his mind. He would be a most unsafe guardian, and that alone is answer enough. But in any case, said Glorfindel, to send the ring to him would only postpone the day of evil. He is far away. We could not now take it back to him, unguessed, unmarked by any spy. And even if we could, soon or late the Lord of the Rings would learn of its hiding place, and would bend all his power towards it. Could that power be defied by Bombadil alone? I think not. I think that if all else is conquered, Bombadil will fall, last as he was first, and then night will come. I know little of Iarwain save the name, said Galdor, but Glorfindel, I think, is right. Power to defy.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna call it the end of this live for tonight. I want to thank everyone for stopping by and everyone who continues to stop by. I definitely appreciate all y'all's support. Until next time, everyone. I hope everyone has a good and safe 4th of July coming up today. But y'all stay safe out there.